Hi guys, today I'm going to be making a chicken dumpling, and really it's more a cross between a dumpling and a stew. It's really actually quite an easy meal to make. There's some time consumption in cleaning your vegetables, whatever vegetables you choose to put in it. For today I am putting carrots, onions, and potatoes in it, and usually I will put celery in it, but I didn't have any, so this is what we have. You know, when you think of a dumpling, and I've made just straight dumplings before, you usually think of having the chicken, onions, and the dumplings in the broth. And this just kind of soups it up a little bit more. That's why I said it's a cross between, soups it up, the cameraman's back there winking at me. Makes it a cross between a dumpling and a stew. So, lots of carrots into your broth. Now, one thing you can see about the size of my soup pan, we're serious about our soups. Alright, when I cook, I want enough, if possible, and it doesn't always work out this way, but I want enough for a couple days worth of eats, and especially when it comes to soups. Right, you can have this pan. So you put your potatoes in with your carrots into your broth. Onion.
To taste.
To taste. Alright. Another reason that I use a really big pan is because it seems like any other pan I use has a tendency the stuff will boil over. Right now my chicken is still boiling, and that's why I don't have a whole lot of broth in here. This is canned broth that's in here. The chicken that's available to us up here right now, because we have done no meat birds. We have our layers right now, no meat birds up here. It's not been good timing the past year in trying to get us stabilized on the property. So again, our dependence unfortunately is at things that we get from the store. So organic broth, and then the chicken I can get is not skin, has no skin on it, which is a bummer, because one of the best dumplings you can make, or stews you can make, obviously, is from bone broth. And if you are familiar with bone broth, you'll know that you use the skin and everything. And at the very least, a chicken should be boiled with the skin on it, and then you remove the carcass, and you've got a wonderful broth for the soup that day. But my chicken is boiling, and I will pour the remnants of that water in here to increase the amount of liquids that I have before I put my dumplings in. But back to what I was saying about the size of my pan. Make sure that when you do this, that your pan is big enough that when you put your lid on, 'cause you've got to put your lid on top for your dumplings to cook, and it will bubble because you're going to simmer it. That it's not so full that it simmers over, because it will really discourage you and make a total mess on your stove. This is also, okay, you got to understand the size of pot I'm doing. I have 5 pounds of potatoes in here. I have 5 pounds of carrots. I have 2 large onions. This is a 5-gallon container, 5-gallon pot, and it's over halfway full, just a little bit, not a lot yet, but I don't have the dumplings in either. So I'm going to put butter in my broth, and I'm going to put just a half a cup. And again, the chicken I'm using, I went ahead, I boiled it, and I used the water, and again it's skinless, so I don't get a lot of broth from it, but every little thing helps. Instead of just putting plain water in to help extend the broth, so I have more dumplings in there. I have gotten away this size of container with what I just said, you know, plus a heart of celery. I have gotten away with just using 4 chicken breasts, and it's been extremely meaty with that amount of breast. You know, back to some of the other videos we talked about, there are times in life that people just have to be economical. It'd be nice to be able to have like an abundance of chicken in every bite, and that's not always feasible. So that's why the importance of the broth and keeping it as, you know, brothy as possible versus watered down, and making it just more affordable so that you feel freer to do it more often instead of thinking it's too expensive of a meal. I had to move my pan off of my stove, come over here by the window, because it's getting, oh boy, what time is it? 4:30. So I'm losing light over there and you can't see via the camera. But when you're cooking this, you're going to do this typically on your stove. You're not going to have your, point down here please. You're not going to have your broth and stuff at a full boil. You're simmering it. You've cooked your vegetables almost all the way. You don't want them cooked completely, because by the time your dumplings cook, they're going to be mushy. Now, the other thing, if I could remember, I would tell you. This is the time that you want to add your spices. You don't want to add your spices after you put your dumplings in. You want to do it either at the beginning of cooking or right before the dumplings. And this is the period where I like to do it. I like to do it after everything's, done the most of its cooking. So the only spices that I really use in here is I use sea salt.
A lot of it, as you can
Well, it's probably about a teaspoon. That was probably about a teaspoon. And you'd probably actually end up, we salt it once it's cooked. And then, of course, paprika. You cannot cook without paprika. So, and I'm very liberal with that.
That and peanuts.
Now, your dumplings go in. See how it changed the color of my broth? Your dumplings go in. Your broth has to be hot. For those of you that have never cooked dumplings before, your broth needs to be really hot. If you put them in with your dumplings in while the broth is cool or cold or even lukewarm, your end product you're not going to care for. So, if you've seen my other videos, you know that typically that all I do is I use my biscuit recipe and I just thin it out more with additional water. Then you just take scoops of your dumpling dough, and you plop them in there. I do not add my chicken until after the stuff is cooked. And then what I do is I put the chicken on top of my dumplings. The children out there are having some type of war going on, it sounds like. I sprinkle the chicken that I've shredded on top of my dumplings once my dumplings are cooked. And then I cut the chicken in. And what I mean by that is I just reach down below my dumplings. What I have found for me, if I put my chicken in before my dumplings, because I just leave it on the stove to simmer, sometimes once my dumplings go in, that chicken sears to the bottom of my pan. And I want to get all the chicken that I can that I've put in. And if it's seared to the bottom, first off, it's really hard to get. And secondly, it's a pain to clean. Just because we do everything from scratch doesn't mean we have to do it difficultly. One of our absolute favorite reality shows, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, and if you haven't, you need to.
We don't watch that many, just so you all know.
No, that's true. When I say reality shows, because the reality shows we've watched are based back in time. There's like from Britain, there's the Farm series, which is done by 2 archaeologists and a historian. Give me a wartime farms and
Edwardian firm, Tudor monastery firm.
Another one we've seen and we don't like it is Frontier House, because that's the typical reality shows where they're trying to pit each other against each other. But the one reality show that we really liked was called Pioneer Quest, and it was done in 2000. It was done in Canada, and
love them Canadians for all you out there.
They followed two couples that were supposed to see if they could live for a year, as the pioneers did back in the 1870s, 1875.
It was 1875.
It was the Treadways and the Logies. And anyways, one of them said when she was cooking, she said it's really amazing how simple cooking is. And that's the thing. Cooking should not be complicated, even though it's from scratch. All this stuff that we think is convenient food from the store, the prepackaged, all it's doing is making somebody rich. It's not giving us anything healthy. It's not giving our family anything substantial. It's causing problems later down the road. When we can do all this stuff on our own, and I think it's important for people to stop and think about that. Now you saw my amount of dough in my bowl here, and you saw the amount of broth in my pan, and I see how much I still have a whole lot of broth. What's going to happen, for those who have not made dumplings before, the dough will create a gravy all its own.
And gravy is Latin for delicious.
Now, if I have tomorrow, if the dumplings sometimes your dumplings will disintegrate a little bit, but if I have a lot of broth left, bring it up here. If I find out that I have a lot of broth left and the dumplings are either gone or they've been eaten, what I will do is I will make biscuits And then I will take what's left, heat it up, and then just pour it over the biscuits. Okay. Yeah. At this point, typically, I would take you to the stove and show you a few other things, but because the light is so bad, I'm going to leave you here for a minute. I'm going to put this back on the stove, and when it's done cooking, I'll bring it back here and let you see the end results. Okay, so we're back at our dry sink here because our lighting is still bad by the stove. So here's what your dumplings should look like. Let me grab my handy dandy spatula here. And I'm just going to cut into them slightly. You'll see the broth. See how nice that gravied itself up. Now again, we're missing something. We're missing our chicken. So I'm going to take my chicken and I'm going to put it on top here. It's not a lot of chicken. I know, again, we're buying organic, and I don't remember what it is per pound, but all they had at the store today were chicken tenders. Usually with chicken breast, I get a little bit more for the price, but we'll still get chicken per serving. So then when I say I just cut it in, I just kind of slice it in like that. And it goes underneath. Doesn't have to be anything dramatic. You're not ruining your dumplings. And of course, obviously, as you scoop them up, that chicken's going to float down and come up in your scoops. Alright, so, you guys like that spatula? That's one RJ made. Just love it.
Sales pitch.
Just a sales pitch. He has started an Etsy store, so. I'm going to scoop a little bit up onto I want you to see these dumplings.
Aren't they lovely dumplings?
Get your veggies, got your broth. And then those dumplings should be nice and airy. This is one of those hearty meals you can make stretch. You know, your family will enjoy. It's not necessarily the most nutritional value in the meal itself. Again, we had a discussion during our potato tacos that it'd be nice if every meal we put on the table could be just, you know, a super meal or super nutritional food. But that's not real life for many of us. And sometimes we just are trying to get, you know, something on the table that the family likes and will eat, and it's healthier than the alternative, which would be going to the fast food restaurant or buying the already processed food or the frozen food. So if you try it, we hope you enjoy. Let us know. You know, send us a comment on YouTube if you've given it a shot and saying how your family, you know, received it or what changes you've made to it. We hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks, and God bless.
Father, we love and praise you tonight, and thank you for your goodness, Lord. And just thank you for the mercy and grace that you show this family every day. Father, we pray that you'd bless this meal and nourish it to our bodies. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Even antics going on during prayer.
Where's your mama?
Can't wait.